I like what's happening with your hair too, man. It's very, I don't give a shit, but it's hot on you. It's hot. You're a hot man
What do you mean I don't give a shit?
because it's just doing things, you know? I always
Yes.
envy the, I always envy the white man's ability to just wet their hand and run it through their hair and be like, I'm going outside now. I'm good. Ready.
Who's gonna pay for students to have free lunch? Me, me. What are you even talking about? My tax dollars fund war crimes in Yemen. So if a couple third graders get a free pizza on me, good, good, excellent. But illegal immigrants, who's gonna be? I'll do it. I'll do it. I'm paying into the Social Security of the woman that lied on Emmett Till. I'm happy if a single Bolivian mother of three gets an MRI on me. That's what we do.
I love this cat, man. This, I saw this. I burst out laughing because that's what we do, man. You gotta love this cat, man. Just kept it so real. It's
I, I love
Delmo Manny. Regardless, he's just banging.
it's perfect. It's so on point. And I love his uh, mocking tone when he's impersonating the people who are so whiny and complaining about these various non-issues, like immigrants. Dude, that's a non-issue. Borders, open borders, that's a non-issue. Shut the fuck up. You need those immigrants.
Wasn't it decades ago that during the Reagan administration, I think, that they tried to create a law where if businesses hire illegal immigrants, they would be fined or face some kind of consequence. And the business community was like, no, we can't do that. Who else would we pay $2 an hour to wash dishes and serve food and clean hotels and toilets and pick up the vomit of the rich and poor? So I've always felt that, the illegal immigration thing is just, it is a canard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
pointless.
I wrote a little bit about that, in fact, just by coincidence. And let me share with you what I have on this. It's like this weird cycle. So the U.S. or related goes and bombs somewhere, starts a war unnecessarily somewhere. The immigrants flow in response. Then the right wing, like Tommy Robinson or some shit like that, like revs up the hate machine, like the anti-immigrant uh, sentiment, and then that sort of justifies more surveillance, more censorship, more police. So they just use that as an excuse to further tighten their grip on power. It's this horrible, horrible little cycle, you know?
It is absurd. And the truth of it is, it's so, I'm sorry, let me try that again. The reason why it's absurd is because obviously it's the rich people and not the millionaires, the billionaires that we don't know. Because everybody knows who Musk is, everybody knows who Bezos is, everybody knows who Bill Gates is, but the ones that we don't know, because like George Carlin said, you don't need a formal conspiracy if all your interests align. This is to keep people off the fact that in the United States, you get no child care, you get maybe 2 weeks vacation. Your boss will call you on vacation. You know, good luck
Distraction.
if you lose your job. The people that you have to hate live down the street from you, not me. Because trickle down, man. It's gonna trickle on you. It's gonna trickle all in your mouth eventually. You'll see. And maybe one day when you bootstrap it all the way, you can get rich too, bro. You can get super rich.
It's totally a distraction operation, like there's a lot of the things that we talk about aren't really, it's not rocket science. A lot of this is not hard, and a lot of what we share together it's not full of insight. It's regular stuff that if you talk to people, they will grudgingly or maybe, with excitement agree with you. They'll say, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know it. And then, but the thing is then you got me and you, black and white people, all of a sudden uniting. There's the threat. And so now they got to respond. And the only way they can respond is this far right fascist bullshit.
Indeed, man. Indeed. Che, that guy was a class traitor, but a class traitor for the poor. What we have now are just a bunch of people who want to be class traitors. But you'll never be a millionaire, bro. You'll never be a millionaire. It's all about when we have our little battles about how I'm always cynical that, people will never give up their creature comforts in order to go actually change the system, because they need their iPhone, they need their air conditioner, they need their $8 coffee that actually costs 50 cents to make. These people eventually think that maybe one day I too could be rich. I too can be like that girl who was on the video camera talking about how she gives amazing oral sex. This is how you do it. And now she's famous and Bill Maher wants to host her podcast in a creepy way about sex. Everybody thinks that they can eventually be rich. So they'll never actually.
One of the holes though in your line of argumentation here though is, if you look at the major backers of, say, somebody like Hitler, the major backers are not the working class. The major backers are the petite bourgeoisie and the real capitalists.
Yeah,
and then
he got a ton of funding from the United States and Western Europe in the 30s.
When you look at today's far right, it's similar. A lot of the people who are most excited about Trump or Tommy Robinson or any of these more far right people, it's the petite bourgeoisie, and they're getting their support from the billionaires. It's not a working class movement. It's not a Joe Schmo, everyday guy thing.
No, you're definitely right about that. Here is a little clip from CNN. Video's crap, but we can get the audio. Talking about the quote unquote demonstrations in the UK.
Yes.
Here in Sheffield, the city had been on high alert for the possibility of yet more far-right riots, but instead there has been a huge show of support from anti-racism demonstrators gathering here to take a stand against the far right.
This is amazing, like the hundreds of people that are here, like the show of community and solidarity just feels really good and feels it's a really positive outcome.
I'm not prepared to let them dominate our streets. These are our streets and the multicultural streets, and so I'm here to oppose them.
Across the country, security measures have been ramped up. The government pledging to use the full force of the law against those involved in acts of far-right violence. But on Wednesday, anti-immigration voices were a clear minority.
People are coming in and they're making our country unsafe, and they think it's all right, and it's really not. No, it's not racism. Don't care if you're black, white, orange, blue, purple or pink, love. If you're all right with us, you treat our kids safe, you come in this country, you live by our rules.
It's a sentiment rejected by government officials and condemned by the thousands who took to the streets of Britain on Wednesday.
Stop the fascists now, 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 now!
From Liverpool in the north to Brighton in the south, and in the capital, London.
I think the show of force from the police, and frankly the show of unity from communities together defeated the challenges that we've seen.
Police say hundreds have been arrested so far in connection with far-right violence, with over 100 said to have already been charged. While officials remain on high alert for any further violence, The solidarity displayed by those standing against racism in Britain appears to have thwarted the far right for now.
You know what the UK government's response to those kinds of pushback from the left is? It's, quote, think before you post. You know, it's their censorship regime. You know, like they're trying to say, like, they're trying to just arbitrarily label things disinformation. You know, like if you were to post one of the videos of these you know, anti-racist demonstrations, they could just boom slap you with some charges.
I give all the credit to Rupert Murdoch, and I feel bad that I gave money to Fox by watching The Simpsons and Married with Children back in the day, because maybe then they wouldn't have had the power to overturn the Telecommunications Act by giving money to Clinton so that they could own a TV station and a radio station in the same market, and then just take over the earth with just horrible, horrible news and things like that, man. The anti-immigrant stuff that comes out of these newspapers and Fox and Sky, it is unreal, man.
The Daily Mail, the Telegraph.
Yeah.
And it's nearly been 2 decades now that the British press has been pushing this Islamophobic line.
Yeah, you got your boy Nigel Farage, who's a very disturbing human being. He always looks like the villain in some B movie about, you know, a terrible James Bond, a comic James Bond. You know, it's so terrible that
recently, just maybe a week or so ago, Douglas Murray, another far right cunt, says quote, the non-immigrant public will, quote, sort it out.
Jesus Christ.
So he's calling his brown shirts and his black shirts to get in gear, and
it's never about the fact that we the United States and England, with their help, you know, they invaded Iraq. They have sanctions on what has come to be a third of the earth, 60% of poor, quote unquote, poor countries. What's been going on with Venezuela over the last few years? Where do you think these people come from, man? For the UK, it was what they did to the Caribbean and Africa. And then these people would come to England and they would call them terrible names and set them on fire and punch them in the face. And so you're doing all of this stuff. You vote for Brexit, you know, congratulations. Now you've cut yourself off from the rest of Europe. Good for you. Oh, by the way, you still ruined large parts of the earth, which is why these people keep coming to your country. And you can't put 2 and 2 together to make 4. It adds up to these people are taking my jobs. And again, who's hiring these people?
One of the interesting about faces that happens with some of these groups recently that sort of shows their hand, you know, shows the vacuity and the sort of astroturf nature of this stuff. Tommy Robinson and the EDL, they started out as a like anti-Jewish group, and now all of a sudden, they're pro-Israeli.
Oh, you know? Well, yeah. What are the odds with that? What are the odds with that? And so, like,
the
go ahead.
The funding that Tommy Robinson gets is totally, you know, like this. I don't know exactly where it's coming from, but it's obviously he's getting a lot of money from, you know, the axis of Islamophobia.
So this guy, how does Tommy Robinson make money? Says Google. He gets money from his media work. Urban Scoop posts his videos, and he's got a pop-up window asking for donations. But according to thetimes.com, it looks like he's not paying his taxes. Very patriotic, of course. when you don't pay your taxes. uh, so people like that, Robinson, the Trumps, most of the, not even just far right, just huge business people in general, they can get away with not paying their taxes because they have money to dodge this stuff. So it's very funny that he should get in trouble for potentially not paying his taxes. He got some help from a place called the Middle East Forum, a conservative think tank, and they're giving him money for legal advice. And he just keeps getting money from different people. Seems like a bad person, Tommy Robinson, but he sounds like a baseball player. Tommy Robinson.
He changed his name. He changed his name. He's Stephen Christopher Yaxley Lennon, which sounds too Irish. So he changed his name.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Yeah. So that was from the Times, the UK Times.
Just a little background. Shortly after October 7 happens, I'm listening to Richard Medhurst talk about things, maybe a week or two after October 7th happens, right?
Yeah.
And Richard Medhurst, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know him.
He, I think, is a British citizen, but I think maybe his parents originally come from Syria. And he's totally just really good journalist that shares stuff about the Middle East or West Asia. And he was talking about how basically, if Israel tries to act too decisively, that basically a bunch of pieces on the board get shoved off the board, like the United States in Iraq, the United States in Syria. Iraq, of course, has repeatedly asked the U.S. to leave, but the U.S. is not listening to them. The U.S. is in northeastern Syria protecting the oil fields and basically illegally occupying that area. And yeah, so Medhurst is suggesting that a lot of these pieces get rearranged if Israel tries to act too decisively, tries to change the balance of power too much. And he mentions Yemen and how they could, or Ansar Allah, they could decisively act to thwart various actors. And I think it's probably late October or early November. And so I'm writing on my Facebook, sort of just repeating some of what I heard from Richard Medhurst. And Facebook continually dings me for daring to mention Ansar Allah.
Nah, you can't do that, man. Zuckerberg doesn't like that. You're messing with his ability to buy Hawaiian Islands.
Well, so shortly after this, indeed, Ansar Allah starts to institute a naval blockade, but a land-based naval blockade, because they don't have a navy of their own.
Right,
at least
right.
Nothing really to speak of, And that's unheard of. That's historic. There is, to my knowledge, there's been no other land-based naval blockade in the history of forever.
It's hardcore. It's hardcore to try to block people moving through the ocean when A, you don't have a navy, and B, you're Yemen. You're not a big country.
Yeah, you're a tiny little power, not on people's top 10 list usually. Not even.
Probably one of the countries being sanctioned by the United States and the UK.
I'm sorry, say again.
I said probably one of the countries, one of the 1/3 of the earth being sanctioned by the United States.
Absolutely. The U.S. has been messing with Yemen for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
But if you look at a map, you can see that the extent of the naval blockade that Yemen is in fact enforcing is just monumental. It's titanic. It's basically a good 1/3 of the Earth's oceans and waterways, because it's basically the entire Indian Ocean, the Red Sea.
Jesus.
And they're letting
Ocean,
China and Russia and other friendlies to go through. So it's not this, like, you can't really call them terrorists. If you do, you're misleading people.
Well, sure, you could call them terrorists. You know how that is.
And and they're saying that, hey, look, stop what you're doing in Palestine, and we'll stop our blockade. So they're giving you a clear way out.
Yeah, but who's going to take that way out, huh? No one's going to take that way out, man. Here's that picture you're talking about.
Yeah, the Arabian Sea, the Gulf of Aden, the Red Sea, and then if you go down further, then you'll see the Indian Ocean.
That is huge. That is huge. It's definitely huge. Good old Yemen. Doing the damn thing. So this blockade, how effective is it? Is it working?
It's been extremely effective. It's cut into the Israeli economy in a major way. As far as I know, non-friendlies have not been able to get through it all, like for the past, 6 months or more. And yeah, they're completely in line with the Geneva Convention, which says that if a genocide is going on, the nations of the earth have a responsibility to try to do what they can to prevent that genocide from ongoing.
Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, approved and proposed for signature and ratification or accession by General Assembly, United Nations, Resolution 260A of 9 December 1948, entry into force 12 January 1951. That is it. Article 8, any contracting party may call upon the competent organs of the UN to take action and stop this. Under the Charter of the UN, as they consider appropriate, for the prevention and suppression of acts of genocide or any of the other acts enumerated in Article 3. What are these acts in Article 3? Genocide, conspiracy to commit genocide, directed public incitement to genocide, attempt to commit genocide, complicity in genocide. They've been bombing these people not just for the last 9-10 months, but on and off for 75 years. And when you're blowing up schools and hospitals, and then you go, oh, but actually there was a Hamas dude under that table, so we had to blow up a city block. That's not right. That's not right. You're getting billions of dollars a year from the United States in precision video game level targeting weapons, where you can just read people's sneakers from outer space. You can't just blow up everything in sight, man. It's definitely an act of genocide. So good for Yemen and the Houthis.
Yeah, there's been a recent judgment from, I think it was the ICJ, that since 1967, Israel has been in total and complete violation of international law. And it's not only just occupation, but it's what they're calling default annexation. And you can't just annex willy-nilly, various territories that aren't your own.
I like willy-nilly. Willy-nilly is a thing, man. Willy-nilly is absolutely a thing. An occupying power cannot justify military force as self-defense in territory for which it is responsible. as the occupants. That's the bottom line, man. That is from jadalia.com. But in general, that's just law. That's just basic human law, man. You know, the Native Americans, they were trying to kill the settlers when they came. Sorry. We were here first, kind of. You know, we tried to help you with Thanksgiving when you were eating each other alive during those first couple of winters. You keep trying to kill us. You make trophies of our scalps. So yeah, we're gonna try to do our best to get you out of here. You might come with some murder. This is a tales over this time. If you occupy a place, people are going to try to kill you, man, because they want their home back.
Sure.
It's pretty basic, man. You know, I go into the house of Mr. Phillips above me, and I say, "Cool, you go live in the bathroom, bro. Living room, the kitchen is mine." What do you mean the kitchen is yours? I will occasionally give you a can of tuna. Perhaps I will provide you with lemon and salt. You get all the water you want in a bathroom. Good luck. You know?
And sometimes I'm gonna live feed, live stream the torture that I'm doing to you.
I'm going to use the toilet as well. You know, I'm not going to let you know when I do. I'm going to lay some stinky bombs in there, but you can't come out of the bathroom because the rest of the apartment is mine. Oh well. I want you to enjoy yourself in that toilet. The world.
Did you see the recent report by B'Tselem?
I did
Welcome
not.
to Hell. It's entitled "Welcome to Hell."
Well, good thing that you know, hell has welcome signs now. Hmm. You looking up welcome to hell now? After we do this one, we can talk about let's see what you got. You got the shaky state of the hegemon, you got human nature, you got Assange, you got the AI bubble, and then you have big things happening in Sahel, which I had to Google because that is apparently a big chunk of central North Africa.
Yes.
From west to east.
Welcome to Hell is the title of a report on the abuse and inhuman treatment of Palestinians held in Israeli custody since October 7th. By the way, Israel already has something like 10,000 people in their custody. So when you know, on the news, you read about, you know, people whining about Hamas taking hostages.
Yeah.
100 or 200 hostages or whatever. Okay, yeah, that's bad, but you know what? Israel already has 10,000, so.
I assume that number is also low because
yeah, I think that's a conservative. It's not a low estimate, and I don't think it's a high. I think it's a sort of a middle estimate.
Yeah. If they've been doing this since 1948 and shooting people in the kneecap when they try to protest, punching kids in the face, locking people up whenever they want to, you know, there's no way that number could just be 10,000 just off of common sense. Especially if you factor in also the West Bank, you know, because the people in the West Bank is quote unquote no Hamas, but they still kick the shit out of those people.
That's right.
So,
and this report also details sexual and psychological abuse. So, of course, we've been hearing from the mainstream media about how supposedly Hamas are a bunch of primitive, wild people who can't control themselves and who during a military raid. They take a break during the military raid in order to do systematic rape.
Right.
Where's the proof? Well, we can't show that to you.
You should trust us.
Yeah, just trust us.
You should trust
But
us.
now we have proof on the other side. So every accusation is a confession with these dildos, right?
I did see some videos come across the timelines of just some horrific. Oh, there's a guy who went on to social media and actually took his mask off and was like, "Yeah, you know, this is what I do. You know,
Yeah.
this is."
And there's also the video of a bunch of IOF or IDF soldiers with shields, and then behind those guys with shields, some guy is raping a Palestinian prisoner.
And the debate within the government. Is it cool to actually rape your prisoners because they're terrorists? There's an
That's
actual
right.
debate.
There's almost a civil war caused in Israel because they're debating about this. Can you take this right away from us? We're willing to riot if you take this right away from us.
It is truly horrible, you know. And say what you will about Abu Ghraib, you know, because that was brutal. And they blamed it all on one or two people because of America. But there was no debate. There was no debate about whether or not that was cool. That was definitely not cool. The pictures were not cool. The pyramids of dudes and the cheerful thumbs up with the
Well, I do think there was at the time a very muted minority of the population who was like, well, we can do whatever we want to them. But in the case of Israel 20 some years later, it's not so muted. And it's not a minority of people. It's a rather large number. I think they did some polls on this, and something around 50 or 60% of people in Israel think that these soldiers should be allowed to rape.
You go to Al Jazeera, and you know a lot of people. Oh, Al Jazeera, they're terrorists. Can't listen to Al Jazeera. And you go to Al Jazeera, and you get the following information. Come on, you.
Al Jazeera, I believe, is aligned or associated with Qatar, which is usually in the pocket of the United States.
Well, so then when Al Jazeera even says, "Hey, bro, this not so good," you should maybe take a moment to consider that. So here is what Al Jazeera has on this. Everything is legitimate. I mean, that speaks for itself. There's not too much commentary that you can have about that, man. Not at all. You know, there was the episode of the Boondocks back in the day where the dude was scared that he was going to go to jail and get anally raped. That was a joke for a 30-minute cartoon. Because, you know, even the satire knows it's not cool to rape people in jail. My God, you know, video has emerged of a gang rape of a Palestinian prisoner by guards at the Sdi Timan detention facility in the Negev desert. Al Jazeera verified the video. The prisoner is being selected from a larger group lying bound on the floor. They get escorted to a wall where guards using their shields to hide their identity from the camera. Jesus Christ, proceed to rape him. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. the victim was unable to walk after he was sent to the hospital.
Oh yeah, have you seen the videos? I've seen like 5 or 6 videos over the past month or so of these Palestinians getting out of their detention or whatnot. They are completely broken men. And then when you listen to the kind of abuse that they, you know, had to undergo in their time, it's ridiculous. I mean, these people, yeah, torture. This is not fun and games here. We're not exaggerating. It's not rhetoric. This is real ass shit.
This is horrific, man. However, for some, including the country's far-right finance minister, the outrage is centered on the crime of recording the video rather than the alleged rape itself. Bezalel Smotrich demanded an immediate criminal investigation to locate the leakers of the video. Oh my God. Oh, the laughter is because, you know, what happened to the people who recorded the Ferguson video? You know what I mean? Those people took some losses.
Collateral murder.
Your boy Assange, for example, he recorded the video of unarmed people getting murdered.
No, of course he didn't record the video. Of course, he was just simply.
I'm sorry. Thank you. He shared the video.
Yeah,
he shared the video. My God. My God. The video was intended to harm the reservists and cause tremendous damage to Israel and the world, and to exhaust the full severity of the law against them. Others, including the hard-right ultranationalist politicians such as National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir within Israel, have argued that any action, even gang rape, is permissible if it's undertaken for the security of the state. I might have to pause this podcast video so I can go take a deep Silkwood shower, just cry, because that might be one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life. Jesus Christ.
We're live streaming a genocide, torture, etc., and everybody's just like, oh, okay. Harris is the new candidate. All right, let's vote for her.
And for what it's worth, since she has no platform on her website and she's never really said what she wants to do, you can just assume that whatever Biden's done, she's going to do, you know, and this new guy, Tim Walz, might be in her ear to tell her, I gave kids free school lunch in Minnesota. How about that?
If she wants to win, then she tells Biden to step down so she can take the reins. Then she stops funding arms to Israel immediately. And then she wins. Easy. No problem. No problem. But she doesn't want to win.
Well, that's also an episode of The West Wing. You know what I'm saying? If Martin Sheen was president, he would certainly be a neoliberal, but a kind neoliberal. And he might throw the nation of children free school lunch as well, you know, maybe. But those people are so bought, because Harris, she knows what time it is. She could just come out on her microphone in one of her various campaign speeches featuring Megan Thee Stallion and just say, we're going to do universal health care, or we're going to do paid family leave, or we're going to do, for Christ's sake, the free tampons thing that Walz did. Just throw somebody a ball. But she's come down on nothing. And people love her because she's not Trump. She's not Biden. This is how desperate people are. And when she becomes the president and does nothing, and then we elect the next dude who is younger and more insane than Trump, you know, the slide to fascism continues. People want to assume, you know, Trump, he wins because America's racist. And, you know, that's definitely a part of it. But another reason why Trump wins is because Obama talked a lot of shit. And what did he do? He did the Heritage Foundation's healthcare program. And he bombed a lot of African countries.
He says he's good at killing.
Yeah, that's right. He did make that joke. Oh man, you know, a lot of people lost their houses under Obama and didn't get the bailout that the large businesses did. So, you know, people see that, you know, you tell me A and you do B, why not take a chance on Trump? You know, he had that awesome TV show where he fired people for 13 years.
Also, you could maybe not believe in Trump at all, and just you wanted to give the finger to the Democrats. I think there's a lot of people like that.
There was. So now it's just, you know, we just don't want Biden or Trump. Let's go for Kamala. I do think she's going to win for what it's worth. Just off of that.
I think unless she does something very big, she is not going to win.
You're not wrong either in that, you know, because there is, what are we in, August? So we got September, October, November. We got about 2.5, 3 months.
3 months.
And she's presented nothing of interest other than, I am not Donald Trump, which is what Hillary ran on and failed.
Yeah, and she goes to Michigan, and then she, you know, tries to, you know, tongue wag the protesters there. That's dumb.
You underestimate the joy that people take in sassy black woman, man.
Oh no, absolutely. There is an audience for that. Absolutely. But the thing is, she's already got those people in their pocket. So she's preaching to the choir as far as that's concerned. And so she's not gaining anybody.
This is the thing.
She's simply whipping up a bit of fervor among her existing voters. And that's great. You do need to do some of that. But I believe that there's a way to do that and not at the same time lose potential fence sitters.
This is my thing about the fence sitters. Fence sitters actually want something, which is why they sit on the fence. And neither party is getting the fence sitters.
Because the Democrats don't care if they lose. And the Republicans don't care if they lose either. And that's why you've seen these sort of, you know, I mean, 2020 and 2016, both of those times, the candidates were like, do I have to do this? Okay. It was low energy shit all around.
Yeah, vote for me because I'm not the other person. And it was still, and it was, for what it's worth, it was the record number of voters.
The second
record
time,
number. Yeah, it was a record number of voters the second time. You know, the desperation that people were in because they were seeing their friends drop dead of COVID around them. You know, there is a very strong argument to be made that without COVID, Biden loses.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly disturbing.
Yeah. Trump lost that one basically by chance. You know, and not to let him off the hook, he ran a pretty bad campaign in 2020.
He has no platform. The platform in 2020 was, I'm Donald Trump.
Yeah. They
actually had no platform. And this new Project 2025 thing that's scaring everybody, as much as he tries to distance himself from it, the people who wrote that were in his administration. People don't understand that there is a certain type of salesperson that will tell you anything to get a deal done. I used to work as a telemarketer. I know how it is. I hear it every time he talks. You just tell people whatever they want to hear in order to seal the deal. That is who this cat is. But people really believe that The Apprentice was real. It's the only thing that I have as to why people like this dude. They really think that The Apprentice was real.
Well, now you got to remember, though, a lot of people in a way, both parties are facing a pretty serious crisis. Like, there's not a lot of enthusiasm in either party. And Trump actually has a bit more enthusiasm than the Democrats. But that it's almost a negative enthusiasm though for a lot of people. Because if you ask them why do you like Trump, they'll usually lean on, oh well, you know, he fights against these, you know, the Democrats, or he's not the Democrat, or stuff like that. So
people keep talking about this dude as a good businessman. He basically owns Truth Social. Second quarter, it had 828,000 in revenue and lost 16.4 million. What? It's also worth $5 or $6 billion.
That reminds me of the AI bubble.
Well, that's a whole other story, man. The AI bubble is incredibly alarming because AI doesn't actually know anything that hasn't already been fed into it. It's just an incredible strainer of information versus a thinking computer like Skynet, which it will eventually become, of course.
Maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, maybe. But right now, it's the promises that the various VC venture capitalist guys are putting out there. You've got Microsoft and other big players who are trying to, pimp this, trying to sell this. And, when you hear people talk about this large language models and the things that they can supposedly accomplish, it's a bunch of lies. Like, it's not real.
I just remember pets.com and theglobe.com. What did these things do?
Well, now that's an interesting contrast. The tech bubble in the early 2000s and the late 90s actually laid the groundwork for real stuff to get done in the next 5, 10, 20 years. But in contrast, the AI technology is, now let me be fair, not nothing. There are certain interesting things that it can do, but it's not even comparable to the groundwork that was laid by the tech industry in basically 30 years ago.
Well, not only that, that's something that'll never happen again. Bill Clinton was incredibly lucky to be president at that time because manufacturing in the United States was drying up. They were fully into sending manufacturing from Mexico to China because it was even cheaper. And on top of that, the internet was the newest thing. Computers were finally catching up to what the internet could do at the time. You could get your venture capital on. Your boy Bezos, he basically had a blank check from the people who saw, wait a minute, you can buy things without ever leaving your house. The guy was losing $250,000 a month, and it was just here. This is going to take off eventually. It just so happened that Clinton was there, and give him credit, he laid the infrastructure down with the fiber optic cable. So that was a good thing. But there's a reason why, no president has ever had a boom like Clinton or ever will, because you cannot replicate the creation of a whole new sector. If you could, every president would do.
Sure. That's true. Clinton was extraordinarily lucky. And so, yeah, I mean, the AI thing, billions literally, has been shoved into this in a relatively short amount of time, like maybe 2 years or so, 3 years. And of course, this is being done with the idea that, well, in a year or 2 or 5, we will reap the rewards of our investment. But the thing is, everybody's realizing relative in the past 6 months, I think people have been starting to realize, wait, have we just been sold a bunch of shit here?
Well, look at what we got here from The Guardian. Whether we have reached the stage of Minsky panic is moot. The bubble bursts as quickly as investors can flee the markets. Amazon's share price tumbled in part because analysts looked at its earnings and saw the company spent lavishly on AI without much to show for it. Some venture capitalists think that the party has not even begun, yet so far the public haven't found much use for the technology. In a poll for the Reuters Institute, 29% of the people in the UK said they use ChatGPT. Only 2% said they use it daily. Most people who tried the chatbot, wrote the analyst Benedict Evans, didn't see how it was useful. AI is free with your browser in Google, Chrome. AI is free with your browser in Microsoft. ChatGPT, as it stands, I believe it's like 3.5 or whatever. That's free. You don't have to pay for it. And the areas that you can pay for it, where it's built into Microsoft 365, for example, they want you to pay more money so that you can use ChatGPT 4.0 to help you with your Microsoft Word and your PowerPoint and your Excel. But you get 3.5 for free. You can get it as an add-on for free. Why am I going to pay for this? If you type anything on Google at this point, it already predictive texts what you're going to say because they've incorporated the AI there. So the way that people jumped on the internet and the internet made money was because you had to subscribe. You needed a ISP, an internet service provider. So that's where you get your money for that. Data, which led to the end of BlackBerry. You had to get data on your phone to use the internet. So you're charging people for data. So the internet's making money there. Who's paying for AI beyond the stock market people who are using it to cheat as usual? You know, the average person who has to write a document with Microsoft Word or Google Forms or whatever, they're going to use whatever the free option is. It's a subscription model for something that people, you know what, we'll take the broken 3.5 and just keep typing in the prompt again and again and again until we get the answer we want. This is what's happening with AI. So far, the only people probably who are paying a ton of money for AI, military.
Yeah, people with various specialized jobs, you know, like
Israel's using the AI, right, to target people.
Okay, now that's a little bit different. That's expanding our purview, and I do want to talk about that, but let's put a pin on that for the moment.
That's fair.
So one way I heard this talked about, which made a lot of sense to me, is I feel like you can look at the large language model and the ChatGPT and stuff like that as a little bit like maybe a Swiss Army knife of sorts. And so it's good at discrete various little jobs, little tasks. So obviously it's not a general intelligence. And the thing is it keeps being sold as a general intelligence. It's not.
Right.
And so if it were a generalized intelligence, of course, basically, 90% of the jobs in the United States would simply just disappear overnight, or maybe a couple weeks or a couple months. Quickly, a lot of jobs would just disappear. But it's not that, and it won't become that in 1 year, and it won't become that in 5 years, and it's probably not going to become that in 10 or 20 years. So, basically, you can think of almost everybody's job as a suite of relatively complex tasks, some of which are simple. Yes, the AI is going to be able to replace a selection of some of the simpler tasks. But the thing is almost everybody has a job which it's a constellation of these simple and complex tasks. So the AI isn't going to replace basically anybody's job. Instead, what it's going to do is it's going to replace, if these people get fired, it's because the people at the top have decided that they would rather just offer a less quality product, because those people's jobs aren't actually being properly replaced. Instead, people made a decision and said, well, the tasks that they aren't doing aren't important to me. Fuck it. Let's just offer a lower quality service here.
Well, you've already got that with when you call a company and you try to get help on the phone, and chatbots.
Absolutely.
Those low level things, quote unquote low level. I mean, a job is a job. So.
And the important thing here is, if it was just, let's say, over the past couple of years, let's say Microsoft and Google and a few other companies, poured in 10 billion. Okay, fine. But that's not what's happened. What's happened is they've together poured in about 200 billion over a couple of years. And so the people, the VCs who are responsible for this funding, or at least partially responsible, are asking, okay, so where's the part where I get paid back here now?
All right. So what do you say, man? We do one more thing. What else is on your mind?
Let me see.
Assange?
Yeah, quickly. There's not much to cover there, except it's mostly good news. After almost 15 years of being hounded by the US and the British, they realized that it wasn't worth the squeeze, and they let him go. And now, at first, there were some rumors that as part of the plea deal that WikiLeaks would be taking down some of their content. That is not actually true. Instead,
there are no lies on WikiLeaks. This is the thing. There are no lies on WikiLeaks. They've never had to retract the story.
What was part of the plea deal was that anything that Assange had on his person at the moment would be basically surrendered if it was, confidential or whatever kind of information. So yeah, he didn't have to, and what he did plead to, the guilty plea was something like mishandling confidential information, and that's it. So that's great, but the bad part is that he did have to plead guilty, and what Assange supporters like myself are pushing for now is for a pardon.
That would be interesting if Biden gives him a pardon on the way out, 11:59 p.m. That would be interesting. You get truthout.org. They say the U.S. sought to jail Assange for up to 175 years, but instead they had to settle for only 5 years, which is time served, even though it's been 14 years. I can't even believe that it's been 14 years. It's absurd how much time has gone by.
Yeah. I'd only known you for
years.
I'd only known you for a couple of years at that point.
Seriously, man. Seriously. So they wanted to charge him with hacking, but in the plea deal, it's not mentioned. He got charged with 17 counts of espionage by the United States. And the last one, the only one that they kept, was the reception and dissemination of classified documents, which is no more than what all investigative journalists do, as protected by the First Amendment. So he pled guilty to that charge. And the Espionage Act is what equates these actions with spying. And the Espionage Act is from 1917.
That's right. And there was a big anti-war push in the United States at the time, because by 1917, it was fairly obvious that World War I was a bunch of bullshit. And a lot of people were dying. A lot of people were dying for no good reason. And so, yeah, logically, you have this upsurge of anti-war protests. And the US found that inconvenient because they wanted to keep the war going.
Because
and
America,
so to push back against that anti-war sentiment that was being rather vocal at the time, they instituted the Espionage Act, which basically made it a crime to say bad things about the government. Don't do that.
So Truth Out says, in order to get this admission of what amounts to guilt for practicing journalism, which is he pled guilty to the charge of receiving and disseminating classified documents, the DOJ had to withdraw 17 of the 18 charges against Assange, withdraw its current extradition request, and pledge not to bring in the future any additional charges against Assange based upon his past conduct. So this is it. It's a wrap. He goes back to Australia. Keep in mind, he's an Australian citizen. And the way that rights work is that if you're on American soil, even if you're not an American, those rights still apply to you. So him doing quote unquote journalism, he should have been protected under the First Amendment because he was in the States. In the process, the US had to admit Assange's revelations never actually caused harm to any individual, only the quote unquote risk of harm. Moreover, the US had to agree to waive the right to demand any financial compensation for any future damages resulting from the WikiLeaks revelations. The state also had to forego all fines, theoretically totaling over 100 grand. And lastly, the US had to agree to a clause that would have authorized Assange to leave Saipan and travel undisturbed to Australia if the court had issued a ruling failing to include all of these agreed upon provisions. So there it is.
And I think there was also a portion that sort of included the inverse or the converse of that. So basically, Assange is not going to be suing the US government anytime soon for the torture that they're responsible for.
No, he can't. He can't. He also did not have to promise not to create in the future new files with new revelations furnished by a new generation of whistleblowers. So WikiLeaks could come back. Is it gone now?
No, it's still up.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go, man. Public pressure played a significant role in getting Assange free. Even the British High Court of Judges took notice of the immense mobilization worldwide. In their March 26th sentence, for example, they mentioned the, quote, exceptional level of national and international interest, unquote, around the Assange case. So this guy, I mean, he can't get that time back, and he's not going to get any money for it, but he's going to be free. So he gets to go home to his wife and his kids.
Yeah, and except for the last part where he's basically pled guilty to doing journalism, except for that part, basically he won. He beat their asses.
Yeah. Truth Out says the straw that broke the camel's back was probably the May 20th sentence by British magistrates who, after years of legal hassling, finally allowed Assange to appeal against the order for his extradition to the US. So they got that, and boom, he gets to go home. Good for that guy, man. Good for that guy.
Yeah, at the best, the US government was looking at, because Assange had won that appeal, or had won the right to appeal, rather, the US was facing basically Assange's team would be able to air a bunch of shit that they've been wanting to air this whole time, which only the independent press was covering, you know, and because of the high stakes and high visibility nature of the entire proceedings, the legacy press would have felt a bit of pressure to actually cover things at that point. And in an election year, that was a no-win kind of thing. So,
All right, man. So let's wrap it up. I want to give you this hilarious video here and just get your reaction to it because it's absurd. Here it is.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. Have a look at the headlock here. See that chap over there? Get your hand off my penis! This is the bloke who got me on the penis before.
Get some cups.
Why did you do this to me?
Hop in the car. Get some cups.
For what reason? What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal? Oh, that's a nice headlock, sir. Oh, yes. I see that you know your judo well. Good one. And you, sir, are you waiting to receive my limp penis? How dare get your hands off there.
No, we've only got one.
Ta-ta and farewell.
So I guess get him in the car.
what were they arresting that guy for?
Apparently, they said it was credit card fraud.
Okay.
His name was Jack Carlson, and he died August 8th at the age of 82. He's from Australia.
Yes.
And apparently he was basically kind of a catch me if you can Leonardo DiCaprio type dude. But, you know, he said that he didn't do anything wrong. And it's just an amazing clip because, you know, this is Democracy Manifest, man. You know, the cops are arresting. Look, like, did you see how many cops were on him? You look at this guy.
He gives off very distinct sovereign citizen type vibes.
Get your hand off my penis. So, you know, he was harassed by the cops, man. What are the odds? And he's dead now. But you gotta love people who just make that noise. And the cameras were there because the cops let the press know, hey, we're gonna get this dude. Because clearly he's an international scumbag. And in later interviews, you know, they're saying, so they tried to get you on credit card fraud. And he said, if I was an international gangster, why would I use a credit card? I was paying cash, you know? If you're a international criminal, why would you use a credit card? And it's just solid logic. You know what I mean? You don't want people to track you, you know? So you do everything in cash, bro. Don't you watch any of the MCU? Everything's done in cash or Bitcoin, bro. The blockchain protects us all. So I just love that guy. Just for that little clip there, man.
It also gives off distinct like network vibes. You know that movie Network.
Yeah. And who doesn't like succulent Chinese meals, quite frankly? I do. You know, what is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal? You ever, what's your favorite succulent Chinese meal?
Maratang.
Maratang, yeah, man, some jjajangmyeon. Absolutely.
I had my first maratang about a month ago or so. I was impressed.
Did you get it spicy? Because that's the only way to do it. Congratulations, you're a foreigner who can eat spicy food. I raise my glass to you, my friend. And so we will conclude this particular edition of season 3, and we will be back again. It's good to see you, you sexy thing.
You too.
fight 何かが命じる愛 the sea.